Hello friends, my name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People. And tonight we have an exciting subject. Fancy talk. Fancy talk, you say, Eric? Why, what makes a talk so fancy? Well, it's about fancy topics, of course. A fancy topic precedes a fancy talk. So, what's our fancy topic title tonight? There's a little study of Heidegger and the linkage between Heidegger and his book Being and Time and cognitive functions. So the thing is, on some level, Heidegger is mucking around in his book trying to find some place to stand to do his analysis. And his core problem is he recognizes that we can only understand or convey meaning about being via individual entities, but that they seem to share a common feature called existentiality that Heidegger would like to establish as being separate from an instance of a being. He's determined to do that. Of course, our capacity to conceptualize being is itself a function of each individual being, and so it's a mistake to think that it's more important to understand the non-particular explication of what being is in the abstract, because being in the abstract is a metaphor, a way that we render something permanent for mapping purposes and not for napping porpoises. Nabbing, I guess I should say. Don't nab the porpoises unless you want to anger them. And if you anger porpoises, no one will want to be your friend. Because porpoises are good and true. It's something everybody do. No, including you. So, don't be enslaving and pimping out porpoises. It's not cool. You wouldn't like it if it was your porpoise. How would you like it if I treated your porpoises like you're treating my porpoise? You'd feel what? B followed by A followed by D, which spells what? Bad. Why? Because you didn't adequately understand Heidegger's being and time before deciding to steal and traffic by porpoises. Hysteric! Oh God, not you, Open. Yes, it's me, I'm Open. I know, I recognize your voice immediately. I'm blind. Yeah, we've gone over this so many times before, Open. I know you're blind. And I'm an orphan. A British orphan boy who's blind. Yes, Open, I get that. I would state that probably opening your introduction to everybody with that strategy is possibly not the greatest FE in the world. But I'm blind. Okay, I know you're blind, but that doesn't mean you can't have any FE. No, I can't. Blind people are disallowed any such thing. Disallowed by whom? The Blind People Limitation and Restriction Committee. The Blind People Limitation and Restriction Committee. Does such a thing really exist, Open? Yes, they do. They tell us blind people what we can and can't do. So how did you become an orphan, Open? My parents died Well, obviously that's how you become an orphan. But I mean, how did they die? If it's not too painful a subject matter. No, it's not very painful. It's, I guess you might say, a mixed bag. A mixed bag, huh? I would not expect an orphan boy to refer to his the experience of his parents' death as a mixed bag. Yeah, well, I got a lot of insurance money afterwards. Now I have a serving girl. A serving girl? Yeah, because I'm blind. Right. So what kind of services does she provide? She cooks for me, makes me my meals, tells me how much hay I have. Are you still in the hay business? Yeah, I have a lot of hay. Would you like some? Only £5 billion a bushel. You're right. Your hay is overpriced. That's why it's not moving open. Anyhow, it was a tragic accident. My parents were sitting at home and I accidentally shot them both with a rifle revolver. A rifle revolver? Yeah, it's a half rifle, half revolver, specially made for blind people, so that they don't have to how you say aim. They don't have to aim? No, that's right. They'll still hit their targets even if they don't aim. Isn't that remarkable? Well, yeah, I guess that is kind of remarkable. Hit their targets without aiming. I mean, it's better than unremarkable. I think that's fair. Please stop making my shit so unremarkable. You might say, why is the shit overloaded? Why am I getting meow in my pia? It's as frustrating as getting pia in your meow. You know what I'm saying? Hide this user already. Come on, YouTube. What you doing? You're offending and imbuing my heart with sadness. Please don't do that. If I want to feel gladness, I want to hide this user right here. They're not cool. They're not dear. I don't want them to hang around near. I want to report this spam right here, so come on now. Studio by L'Oreal. We're trying to talk about being in time, and what are you doing? You're barking around like a fark around Joe. Is that good? No. Farking around in the world today takes everything I got. First I'll fark your mom's face real good, then I'll fark a lot. Farking to get a fark away. Gustav, boy, ye go fark yourself and hide in someplace else. 'Cause it's always easy to tell. Bean and Heidegger were good friends. Bean and Heidegger include time, and you've got some things right, sir. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Why is it eating all my resources? Quit sucking up resources like yesterday's tomorrow's never going to end. Alright, fine. Let me put this on a lower resolution, see if that helps. Well, come on now. Task manager. Let's try this one. Somewhat lower resolution. It should be a little easier on the resources. But you know, I've been having a couple problems today with this. I'm not sure what's going on. I just know that I don't want to wait for my life to be over before I finally eat enough cheese to make me happy again. And so I'm going to go out and start manifesting cheese by willing it to be so. Will it actually be so? Is my computer too slow? These are the questions we have to know. What's going on here, yo? What's the matter with shit? Why ain't working right? Is it on my end? Is it alright? Did they make something in the YouTube frame fully worse than it could be? I'm looking for something to help me figure what the fuck's going on with this trigger. I need to know. I want to see if Tigger gonna hop to me. Oh, what a mess. What a mess. Why is it 100% CPU? Well, G and U needs to go. That's true. End task. But that's not really the problem, is it? No, it's not. Where's occupying all my CPU? System interrupts. What are system interrupts? Well, stop interrupting my system. For fuck's sake. What a problem in life, you know? When things aren't easy, but they're difficult instead. What's my typing of Heidegger? Probably an ENTP, I would guess. Well, yeah, well, I mean, I haven't finished it, but I'm reading through Heidegger's Being in Time. And in fact, I have a little, document I've got where I put it in plainer English, because Heidegger is unnecessarily extremely dense. And to no good purpose that I can ascertain, really. So it's like what he's saying doesn't need to be said in as many words as he says it in. It can be said more concisely. It makes me say any DOM without trying to be really precise with a lot of operational TI, but he's letting any run a little wild. As we tend to do. So, if you pull up Heidegger's Being in Time, and you just look at the beginning part of it, because that's the part I had the document on, then what you will see is this. So, if we scroll down to the part is past the introduction, where it's actually Heidegger's words. Alright, so let's look at the beginning of this. Here's what Heidegger's first paragraph says in Heideggerian language. This question has today been forgotten. The necessity of an explicit retrieve of the question of being. This question has today been forgotten, although our time considers itself progressive and again affirming metaphysics. All the same, we believe that we are spared the exertion of rekindling a gigantomachia perites oesis, a battle of giants concerning being. Plato's sophist, but the question touched upon here is hardly an arbitrary one. It sustained the avid research of Plato and Aristotle, but from then on it ceased to be heard as a thematic question of actual investigation. What these two thinkers achieved has been preserved in various distorted and camouflaged forms down to Hegel's logic, and when that was wrested from phenomena by the highest exertion of thought, albeit in fragments and first beginnings, has long since been trivialized. So, when we go to translate it into kind of more regular talk, paragraph 1 says, philosophy has moved away from questions regarding the nature of being. Being equals existence, observation, agency, consciousness, stuff like that. Paragraph 2, being is so universal a component underlying every question that often it's now considered a category error to philosophize about the meaning and nature of being. And that's what I took away from his paragraph 2. His actual paragraph 2 reads this. Not only that, on the foundation of the Greek point of departure from the interpretation of being, a dogma has taken shape which not only declares that the question of the meaning of being is superfluous, but sanctions its neglect. It is said that being is the most universal and the emptiest concept. As such, it resists every attempt at definition, nor does the most universal and thus indefinable concept need any definition. Everybody uses it constantly and also already understands what is meant by it. That what troubled ancient philosophizing and kept it so by virtue of its obscurity has become obvious, clear as day, such that whoever persists in asking about it is accused of an error of method. Now, here's his paragraph 3. At the beginning of this inquiry, the prejudices that constantly instill and repeatedly promote the idea that a questioning of being is not needed cannot be discussed in detail. They are rooted in ancient ontology itself. That ontology can in turn only be interpreted adequately under the guidance of the question of being, which has been clarified and answered beforehand. One must proceed with regard to the soil from which the fundamental ontological concepts grew, and with reference to the suitable demonstration of the categories and their completeness. We therefore wish to discuss these prejudices only to the extent that the necessity of a retrieve of the question of the meaning of being becomes evident. There are 3 such prejudices. So in the straight up English way of putting his third paragraph is 3 core notions work against the direct study of being. Paragraph 4. One, being is the most universal concept, and understanding of being is always already contained in everything we apprehend in beings, but the universality of being is not that of genus. Being does not delimit the highest region of beings so far as they are conceptually articulated according to genus and species. Being is not a genus. The universality of being surpasses the universality of genus. According to the designation of medieval ontology, being is a transcendence. Aristotle himself understood the unity of this transcendental universal as opposed to the manifold of the highest generic concepts with material content as the unity of analogy. Despite his dependence upon Plato's ontological position, Aristotle placed the problem of being on a fundamentally new basis with this discovery. To be sure, he too did not clarify the obscurity of these categorical connections. Medieval ontology discussed this problem in many ways, above all in the Thomas and Scottish schools, without getting fundamental clarity. When Hegel finally defines being as the intermediate and immediate, and makes this definition the foundation of all further categorical explications of his logic, he remains within the perspective of ancient ontology, except that he does give up the problem raised early on by Aristotle of the unity of being, in contrast to the manifold of categories with material content. If one says accordingly that being is the most universal concept, that cannot mean that it is the clearest and that it needs no further discussion. The concept of being is rather the most obscure of all. So I translated that long paragraph, that 4th paragraph, into taxonomy itself, the drawing of distinctions to organize things, supervenes on being, and we can never look at being from anywhere except within the box of being. Paragraph 5 in Heidegger's language says, the concept of being is indefinable. This conclusion was drawn from its highest universality, and correctly so, if definition is achieved through the proximate genus and the specific difference. Indeed, being cannot be understood as a being. Being cannot be defined by attributing beings to it. Being cannot be derived from higher concepts by the way of definition. It cannot be represented by lower ones. But does it follow from this that being can no longer constitute a problem? Not at all. We can conclude only that being is not something like a being. Thus, the manner of definition of beings, which has its justification within limits, the definition of traditional logic, which is itself rooted in ancient ontology, cannot be applied to being. The indefinability of being does not dispense with the question of its meaning, but forces it upon us. Alright, so like that paragraph, I got it in 6 bullet points. 1. Being evades its definition by not representing an example of anything. 2. It can't follow from examples of being, nor be inferred therefrom. 4. In other words, it's unlike any other concept. It's in that it's like space, in how it's impossible to imagine any physicality without allowing for the necessary precondition that space exists, but unlike space, in that being applies to everything, not just physicality. And 6, indefinability doesn't excuse us from examining being as an object of analysis, but rather requires us to do so. Which is a kind of a strange thing to say, because really, if we've concluded it's truly indefinable, then there's not much more analysis that can be done on it. So I'm not sure that he warrants that at all. In paragraph 6, he basically just says, everybody thinks they know what it means to be, insofar as everybody uses the verb freely to communicate, but nobody can define it, and nobody even bothers to try. Paragraph 7, yeah, it's self-evident, doesn't do any philosophical work, it's just an appeal to a shared perception that hasn't even been established. Paragraph 8, unlike translating French into English, the lack of frame in investigating being means a lack of clarity about what questions you're trying to answer. So, 2, first let's analyze how we might ask such questions and how we might formulate the queries in operationalizable ways. And then, in the next section, formal structure of the question of being. Anyway, the point is, Heidegger says things way more complicated than they need to be said, as you can tell by my translation of it, right? My translation makes a lot more sense than Heidegger's expression of it. Because Heidegger was 2 NE and not NI enough. Which might lead one to think INTP over ENTP possibly, but when you read some of his later stuff, he seems more like an ENTP. He seems to have a more robust relationship with FE than he does with than I would expect from fourth slot. The halftime show was the bomb diddly-om. It's like if I had requested a halftime show and put it together myself, with the exception of Mary J. Blige, who I'd probably have excluded, I would have been like, now that's how to represent California, you know? They had Dre, they had Snoop, they had 50 Cent, they had Eminem, they had Kendrick Lamar, and everybody was playing their hits, you know? When it went into Lose Yourself, gave me goose pimples. On a few different occasions gave me goose pimples. As they're transitioning in from like massive cultural icon hit to hit to hit. It was great. Now the Rams won. It was fantastic. And I hate halftime shows. But that one, I wanted to watch the whole thing. It's like, wow. They're really doing Dre like a little coronation here at the Super Bowl. So much so that Kendrick Lamar had his dancers wearing sashes that said Dre Day. Well, I mean, yeah, Mary J. Blige was the fly in the ointment for sure, but the rest of the shit, played out beautifully. Even though it was kind of a medley, they didn't complete any of the songs. They gave you all the juicy bits of each of the songs that were the big hits, you know. I want to welcome you all to the Wild Wild West. We're in like Elliot Ness. And you know, it is important to periodically remind the rest of the world. For those of you who forget, because I know a lot of you guys forget real easy, but California knows how to party. California knows how to party. In the city of Compton, keep it rockin', keep it rockin'. Well, I must commend both teams for playing in a most sporting fashion. The Los Angeles Rams emerged victorious after a defensive stop at the end of the fourth quarter. Everybody was cheering and laughing, crying, singing, and dancing, but not those visitors from Cincinnati. They were to go home disappointed, sad, feeling bad. Well, that's if they want the thing to really. Those are the best choices, except for the Mary J. Blige, which felt like a token woman, you know, to toss in there so they don't get too much critique on not having any chicks. But they could have gotten somebody better than Mary J. Blige. Or rather, they got Spinoza's denial of free will is predicated on the influence of externals. He says the timid man thinks it is by choice that he refrains from external interaction, whereas the bold man thinks it's by choice that he engages it. Well, I mean, the thing is, the problem there, of course, is defining the individual as timid or bold inherently denies them any say in the matter, right? So I might be more or less timid in a certain situation. I might glean from a previous instance that I'm going to be more assertive this time and grow as a person. And those kind of complicated dynamics of chaotic systems are what ultimately render any kind of determinist framework ridiculous. I mean, a determinist framework is inherently ridiculous because if you were going to say the world is predetermined, that we are mechanically determined to do and be who we are and what we do and stuff, we don't really have any free will, then you'd have to articulate a situation in which one could have free will in a linear progression of time in order to establish that you mean anything by saying we don't have free will. So, okay, what would it look like if we did have free will? If you can't answer that question, then you can't meaningfully state that we don't. So, the answer to that question, if we had free will, would be we'd be able to differentiate between instances where we did things more freely and more in response to pressure. So we'd be able to distinguish between those two things. So that would be one test we could do. Is that true of our reality? Yes. So it's definitely the case that we don't always do things just as freely as we do other things. There's no disputing that. And then the other thing is, if we did have free will, would there be, there'd need to be some sort of mechanism to consider prospective actions and make choices about them that slow down the process of reflexively responding to things. And in fact, we do have that process. It's called conditionality. We can evaluate and imagine potential prospective courses of action conditionally and make decisions about them. The reason things are not predetermined, it can't be predetermined, is because the future hasn't happened yet. So definitionally, it can't be predetermined. You may be able to find a link story to create a cascading causal chain, but you'll never be able to account for every possible impactful variable. Plus the the randomness of the fact that it's automatically imbued into the system by the fact that agents are inherently unpredictable because they're not merely acting as subjects in the world, but as agents with an ontology that they have some active voice in constructing. Oh, Moded Visrafi, I've been waiting for you to come around. Moded, it has been too long since I bummed today. Would you like to bum today with me? Join me and Moded Visrafi with to bum today. I don't want to bum. So my life isn't over because I bummed so many times before and I like to bum. Don't make me bum on you again. Please. Well, I mean, the thing is, the future hasn't happened yet. That's what it boils down to. If you say the future is predetermined, then that means, to some extent, it's already happened. We just haven't experienced it yet. It's already been determined, right? You'd have to articulate what his specific warrants are, Christopher Caesar. I don't know about his argument for fatalism. I mean, what's an argument for fatalism in practice anyway? Is it an argument in favor of disengagement, in favor of the rejection that one's actions or behaviors can have meaningful impacts, the rejection of choice making? But I mean, the thing is, Christopher Caesar, it may be the case that no agent can perform any given act if there is lacking at the same time or any other time. Well, I don't know why any other time would. I don't think you should put the or any other time in there, but some condition necessary for the occurrence of that act. Well, that's true, but acting is only one form of paying attention. So it is not the case that there are ever conditions lacking that preclude someone from observing. You know, you might have your means of observation limited by having to be blindfolded and cover your ears covered and stuff, but you can still engage in observation. So it's not true. Well, it may be true that actions are sometimes predicated on preconditions, or at least wise takings of those actions. I mean, obviously, I can't punch you with brass knuckles until I get brass knuckles, right? So in that regard, there's a precondition of having the necessary equipment to do the thing you want to do if your thing you want to do involves equipment. But simply for observation, there requires no precondition except the state of attention of observing. No matter where you are, what's happening to you, what's being done, or anything else, the capacity to observe remains. Except unless you're dead or unconscious. Deliberation is generally the same, you know. It might be the case that acting as a subject in specific ways may be conditional upon readiness in the field for that action to be taken. Uh, but yeah, other functions don't need to. They don't. They're not subject to that same thing. So Oliver's soybean plant. This is a written apology. Your 6-month-old soybean plant. 6-month-old and soybean plant years is like 65 years old. What do you think about Cartesian doubt and the evil genius theory? Since I can't experience being you, one or both of us may be part of a simulation a la the Matrix. Well, I don't understand why experiencing my being, in other words, I don't understand why shareability of actual experience, which would seem to be a function of a unique biological being, and therefore fundamentally not transferable, would be a necessary or preferable way of confirming your reality than my ability to communicate with you in ways that check to see how you express as a human being. It's like there's no particular reason to think that feeling your experiences would make me believe you're more real. Why is there a G in phlegm? Well, because whoever invented the word wanted to make it a high-scoring Scrabble word. They almost put an X and a Z in it just for kicks. You're lucky they didn't add an X and a Z. The Rams won with their winning football ways. I mean, that's the thing. Whenever you get something like that, you should always ask the simple questions. What are the metrics implicit? What are the frames implicit? For any kind of argumentation, position, philosophy thing or whatever, we can simplify it a lot by simply looking at this implicit and explicit frames document, okay, which I'll pull up so everybody can see it. And it lists the 8 frames of reference and values that ultimately all these arguments can be broken down to frame bias of this over this. So let me find that document. Let's see, function. Here we go. Frames debate function bridge. So, if you'd like to be my lover, you've got to kiss Mel Gibson. Alright, so here is here's the list of frames I have to show you. Alright, so what you're going to see here is this. These represent basically implicit or explicit frames that represent the cognitive function biases of people making various arguments. So it's like any other time, bit is necessary if we consider that there may be a time in the future in which necessary conditions are met to allow for the possibility of reality or a given action or even event. So I'm not sure what that argument's. Let me go back up a bit. Okay, so where does this guy go wrong? You can't experience being you, so one of us may be part of the simulation. Even if we could experience being each other, why would that preclude us from being part of the simulation? Why is our experience the determinant factor in what's real? And then, come on. Time is not itself efficacious. That's fucking stupid. Any other time, bit is necessary if we consider that there may be a time in the future in which the necessary conditions are met to allow for the possibility or reality of given action or event. So what's the point? That the things are predetermined because we can frame them in terms of necessary and insufficient conditions after they've happened? I mean, that sounds like the capacity to tell stories, not an accurate description of reality, right? Because we can always tell those stories. We always make up link stories. But that's not good thinking, right? So, yeah, it's like there's no way to establish predeterminism of any sort for the simple reason that in order to establish it first and foremost, you would need to provide an example of what it would look like if something did meet that criterion and attained actual free will. If you can't provide an example of anything that would qualify as free will, then you're not making a meaningful distinction. You're not saying that this isn't free will. You're saying free will doesn't exist, and the reason free will doesn't exist is because there's no such thing. Well, then what are we even arguing about? You know? Oh, for fuckity's sake, this is ridiculous. This thing is being troublesome and it's allowing me to do things at the same time. So, yeah, I mean, look, after an event occurs, we can go back and tell stories about how meow, meow, meow was a necessary precondition to it. But that doesn't mean that those things were predetermined, right? I mean, I don't think simulation theory is inherently dumb. It just doesn't inform us at all about the real questions that need to be answered. To genuinely answer the question, we would need to still determine the source of the question, which is, okay, but oh, for fuck's sake. What is going on with my computer? I'm having some problems here. And you know what it is? I can tell you what it is. In the old task manager, you gotta process these. 100% CPU. Why? Well, it's mostly OBS. I could close this one. That'll save me a little bit of resources. It was mostly all OBS that's using the resources. I'm not sure why it's using so many resources right now. I'm not doing especially complicated things on it. Oh well. Whatevs. And then oh, for fuck's sake. Forget it. I am failing utterly to run a smooth stream here. Consider turning down video settings or using a faster encoding preset. Okay. If it is faded, let me see if I can read this stuff. If it is faded that you will recover from this illness, then regardless of whether you consult a doctor or you do not consult a doctor, you will recover. Okay. So in other words, that outcome is predetermined in this hypothetical. Okay? And yet, what's not predetermined in this hypothetical is whether or not the person goes to actually see a doctor. And that's a variable that comes into play. Now, obviously, after the fact, we can know what something turned out to be. That's not a reason to conclude that it was, in fact, predetermined before it played out, right? Obviously, after the fact, we can always say this was inevitable because it's what happened. But is that actually a good way to understand anything? No. That's not making a real argument. That's just pretending to make an argument. Who's Eris? Now you can say it's possible the actions seen in doctors led to your recovery, although it's not explicitly stated in the original argument. But the point is, you only know that in fact you're going to recover no matter what after you do. These hypotheticals are playing what's called a contradictory premises game. In other words, they're observing something that's not observed yet and predicating arguments on it as though, after it's happened, as though they had observed it ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? It's completely idiotic TI thinking. I mean TE thinking. Completely idiotic TE thinking. If you just think about it for a second, obviously, in a world where we had free will, but a linear determinate time progression, it would necessarily be the case that we would have conditionality in order to consider those actions beforehand, but that once taken, the actions would be final. So every time an action is taken, it's definitely what happened, but that's not a reason to conclude it was predetermined, nor is it a reason to conclude that your contingency arguments about what it was contingent upon are meaningful at all, because why? They're descriptions of what's already happened, as though they're predictions about what's going to happen and why. They're misrepresenting themselves, argumentationally. Like right now, I'm going to misrepresent my urine into this bucket. If you're like me, and I know you are, then you love the sound of a winter's sprinkle of urine into a bucket. Hey, Eric. Yes, everybody? Can you pee in a bucket for us? Yes, everybody. Why can't we hear anything? I'm making it go along the side of the bucket so it doesn't make noise. We want to hear the noise. There. You get to hear it for a second. Don't be all like expecting it all the time now. That's a special treat for you. I don't hand out treats like that willy-nilly every day to everybody everywhere I go. You've got to be pretty special to want to know the truth about love, fashion, relationships, and so much more. They call me the internet's most television program-esque rendition of People magazine. That's what they call me, and for good reason. Why? Because I care about taking pictures of celebrities when they're walking around looking normal with their kids. I find that incredibly compelling media. Hey, look, it's J-Lo and Ben Affleck. They're touching each other's tenders. I guess they're back in love. Back in love and better than ever. Yeah. You're Latino? Latino, huh? That must mean you know how to do the forbidden dance, the samba. Come on, everybody, come on, do the song, but no, you can't control yourself any longer. I'm Latin as fuck. I got one thing to remind all my fellow members of La Raza out there. It's very straightforward, something all we Mexicans should recall. Hay demasiado chupacabras en este pueblo. Entonces, vamos a otro pueblo. If you just remember that, you'll know everything you need to know about my Mexican culture and my Mexican heritage. Ali Shiva, I like you fine, okay? I've got no problem with Mexicans from Mexico. It's like, you know what they bring to the table? They bring agreeability and burros, tacos, burritos, sombreros. They're a real asset to the country. Perhaps what I should do is play a song in honor of the beautiful country of old Mexico. If you're like me, you love not just New Mexico, but also old Mexico. How old is your Mexico? Is a question I like to ask people on the first time I meet them. And they go, circa 1950s, I go, cool, I love that Mexico. It was all, si senor, and hey, let's exploit their mineral resources. We're Americans. Arizona's not the center of the world, Ellie Shiva. Okay, get over your little Arizona fetish. Ew, I like cactuses. Ew, I like Bullhead City. Ew, I like Phoenix. That's how people from Arizona sound. Touch me in my Phoenix and my Tempe. Then we'll go up to Superstition Mountain and believe in some bullshit. It's going to be fantastic. You just confirmed with a fellow Chicano from here. Why don't you confirm with me? I'm the one who flew the transracial. I've been all the races. I know everything about every race. What are you asking? Idiota or idioto? Well, I would presume it's specific to the gender of the parties involved. You know, like if it's there's everything you want and more in a country, except clean drinking water, of course. You might want that, but you're not going to get that there. And that's fair. Shouldn't expect too much from your Mexicos right away. You're expecting too much from your Mexicos is a statement I sometimes hear. And I say, why are you telling me this? Did I ask for your opinion about my relationship with my Mexicos. Whether I love them with a spicy caliente flavor, or whether I love them the amount of 2 burros and a Spaniard's anal mucus, hard to say. Well, that's a little hot. That's a little better. Now it's not tapping out so much. Okay. Well, perhaps we should put in some of the other drums so it doesn't sound so whatever. And here we go. Now comes the hi-hats all the way in, so it makes the beat go moving again. And you can tell where I'm going now with it, man. I'm gonna beat to the rap, to the beat, to the rap, to the singing and rap, and to the beat that you hear. It's not rap, although it's a little disjointed, dear. It's okay. It's what you call a break beat. It's breaking. It's beating. You're faking this meeting. I don't want to enjoy what? If you don't come around with your big old butt, then I won't enjoy it. I don't want to enjoy it. I'm afraid to enjoy it today. Why would I enjoy something I don't understand? That would confuse me. Hey. And you don't want to confuse me. That's not cool to confuse me. Yeah, here we go. It's a beat that makes me want to show off the thing that makes it go forward like this. Oh no, the levels are too hot. I gotta turn this thing down a little bit, not a lot, perhaps maybe a little more than that. Let's see if that's adequate. Yeah, it's a factor that you do. That you do. Yeah, block her, Alex, don't be a big poo. If you really have a problem with someone around here, you have the power to block them. You don't have to see a single word they say. You can tell them, no, I won't shock them. I don't want to hear about your poo and your pee and all the other things that you say to me. So I'ma block you, I'm gonna block you, I'm gonna block you with my face. There. Or maybe not. This one seems in a pretty bad spot. In a pretty bad spot. Maybe I could put it right here instead. I'm not sure if that's what's inside my head, but maybe it could go right there instead, and that would be better than where it is right now. This is is a beat that's going kind of neat. It's going kind of fast and it's going kind of sweet. I could slow it way down. Oh yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. We slowed it way down, it was too fast, and now we can rap over twice as fast. And if you want to see this thing that I can do with this beat, then you look at my lips and see what meat comes from them. And if it's into that. Alright, let's play a little song. Go to the loaf, up mountain, go to the loaf, far from the city below. Go to the loaf, up mountain, go to the loaf, on down the winding road, mountain sunshine on the trees, far above the smoke is hidden, mountain sunshine on the trees, mountain sunshine on the trees, far above the smoke is hidden, mountain sunshine on the trees. Go to the loaf, up mountain, go to the loaf, up from the city, go to the loaf, up mountain, go to the loaf, winding road, I'm grinding on those trees, far above the smoke is hidden, night sunshine grinding on those trees, night sunshine on the trees, far above the smoke is hidden, night sunshine on those trees. Go to the loaf, up mountain, go to the loaf, far from the city below. Go to the loaf, up mountain, go to the loaf. I'm gonna drive those winding roads, going to the loaf. That's what I'm talking about right now. Don't forget about it, and wow. Well, let's change up the beat a little bit. Why not? Let's see what else we got in store. How about this one? to play every song extraordinarily slowly. Don't be rushed by those who feel impatient with your tune. Give it plenty of room to breathe. It's fine to go half time. It's fine to have a show then. It's kind of good to go more slower than you normally proceed through a thing you see. Brings you lots of good luck. And if you disagree, well, you're a stupid fuck, yeah. Don't be a stupid fuck. Unless you really, 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 really want to. Well, obviously, I'm not in much of a mood to play the guitar. More in a mood to fuck around and be a pain in the bar. Not really useful or exciting at all. Rather, instead, I perhaps am excessively tall. That explains my failure all the time, in every way. Constantly failing today, tomorrow, every day. It's failure time with Eric. Won't you join me now? They call me Baby Pig Poop Face, and here's why and how. Because you know it's dated, it's dated, it's dated. You know slang rather than the actual construct of the language. You know slang rather than the actual construct of the language. Hey, your vernacular makes me angry. Why don't you be more formal when you're talking? Say fancy words like whom and heretofore, and also say milady and tell me I'm milord. And that's the way we talk these days, fancy old English style. Would you like to go to a lorry ride down to the uplifted man? Probably you would. I was thinking about old English sayings that people don't know about. Such as this is going pretty fast, this is going pretty fast, it is going faster than I think I could go with fast. It's like I gotta go with double time on this would be quite a challenging endeavor to attempt to see and see if you would want to know what time. Wow. Eric, you seem remarkably untalented tonight. Yeah. I told the talent to just take a break. I'm like, I'm tired of your talented ways. Stop being so talented all the time, Eric. It's totally annoying. You don't even need the hats. Papa, ooh, papa, listen to this beat. It makes me go, ooh, papa, ooh, papa. Listen to this beat, it makes me go, ooh, pa, ooh, papa. I say oopa, papa, 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 oopa, pa, oopa, pa. If you wanna oopa, and if you wanna loompa, and if you wanna oopa pa with me tonight, you get a tuba. Go to German, get a tuba, and play an oompa, see, and then you oompa pa, and then you oompa pa pa pa, and you oompa pa 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 pa, oompa pa. You say you oompa pa. When you go to Mexico, when you oompa pa, oompa, oompa, Mexico, oompa. I gotta have some Mexico oompa. It's a kind of Mexican music with that tuba. It goes oompa oompa pa pa pa. If you wanna ooh, you better paw. If you got a paw, then you better not aw. If you're gonna paw and all, you better paw. Because if you don't paw, then you're law. What I mean by law is lost, because you haven't pawed enough. And people online are funny as hell, but sometimes they're super serious too as well. You can't generalize about how people online are. Some of them are funny, some of them are stars, and some of them are bored, and some of them are cars, and some of them just want to be barred from any activity, any privacy violation. Don't want to reveal who they are, even if they've got a nation's identity like Portugal or Spain or Guam or The Hague. Aren't you like Irish? Try the Irish Spring. It's the pirate smell of an Irish spring. Climb in the bog, get in the spring with the Irish people. We'll pour whiskey on them, and then you'll come out smelling fresh as a daisy. Irishy, springy, and kinda crazy. A very powerful kind of flavor indeed. A fragrance that comes out from your knees. I'm Irish Spring. I like Irish Spring. Don't make my springs be so French. Don't make my French be English. Don't make my springs come from Latvia. I want my Irish Springs. Irish Spring, it's a soap. It's gonna bring that Irish smelling hope to your skin and your face. You're gonna smell like you just been in an Irish race where you went to St. Patrick's Day in Boston and jumped in that green hay. I mean the Green River way that's down there where they dye it all green and they pour in the beer and they say everybody gets drunk because it's St. Patrick's Day, and that's enough to be Irish with ways of intoxication. That's the Irish kind of vacation. Ooh, Ireland, you are a stereotype of drunkenness. Yeah, Ireland, you like to use a lot of your all fists. You punch people in the face and tell them jump around. How you're tough with your Irish ground. You grew up in Boston, it's very picturesque from what I understand. Boston, Tea Party, throw the tea into the PPP. I mean the water in the CCC. And then the English will be mad at me. Tea Party in Boston, TTT. Throw it into the PPP, I mean the CCC. And then the English will be mad at me. I'm gonna hold a Boston Tea Party. I'm gonna dress up as a Native American. I'm gonna gather up some tea in a barrel then. I'm gonna put the barrel over the side. It's gonna go in the water and at the tide it's gonna float out to the ocean. Outside of any utility anyone could ever see. Anybody could redeem from that tea. You gotta send it over ocean water into the sea. Then it gets all salty and undrinkable. Salty and undrinkable. You stick out like a sore thumb. Do I stick out like a sore thumb? If I do, then my sore thumb is sticking out. Why? Because it wants to come about and join you at the party. Say, hey, I'm sore. Why wasn't my thumb invited in the door? I was the rest of me and you said not your thumb. I can't leave it at home without cutting it off, son. That makes no good outcome for me. My thumb will bleed all over my shirt and my knee. I'll have to go to the hospital, and they'll sew it back on with their string and suturing. I don't want any suturing. Stop suturing my penis on my face. Stop suturing my penis to my face. That's not where my penis goes, hey. First you'd have to cut it off anyway, and don't do that. That sounds totally gay. I don't want you to affix my penis to my face. If you do, I'll be cross and I'll chase you across the room telling you, hey, that was noon. That was not scheduled for noon. That was scheduled to some kind of doomsday device where air gets lice on his penis as they eat it through and the skin and it falls off, and then you take me to the hospital to have it reattached. That was the plan that you just botched. And that's why I have to go about the rest of my life entirely penisless. Hey, stop making me penisless. Stop taking my penis wherever I go. Stealing it from me, tossing it to and fro, playing keep away with it as I'm trying to get it back. Throw it to you and then throw it to Jack. throw it to Mary and you laugh and you laugh. I say, hey, you're bullying me. Give me back my penis, please. But they toss it around and throw it in the dirt. Eventually, I gotta get it out of the garbage can. Jerks. Throw my penis in the garbage. I need that to go pee and stuff. It's largely important to me. For not just urinizational purposes, see, but also the intercourse of a sexual variety. And that's my favorite kind of intercourse. Besides, of course, entering a course of action that improves my traction with everything you've ever seen. You're an Irish chick saying I'm Mexican to me. I'm an actual native of Mexico, G. You need to sort out your priorities ASAP. Hey, listen, unlikable Alec, got nothing on me, and I'll tell you why, and it's simple to see. I am fluidly transracial, G. I've been every race, every person, every time, everything you could possibly buy, disenfranchised beyond all recognition. Disenfranchised like the ignition of the combustion engine before gasoline was unrecognized because they were still using steam and coals to make things move around in holes and stuff. Well, I've been every race and so and such. I was Chinese working on the railroad. I was African and I was enslaved in the South because I've been Mexican. People la raza, man. I've been Ecuadorian and their kind of people are a little different then. I've also been Argentinian, playing the soccer. Lionel Messi is my botcher of everything I do. He's always botching up all my kinds of shoes. My shoes are messed up by him. He botched them once up again. Anyhow, I also play for Brazil on their soccer team, and I say, hey, will you guys stop playing so fast? I can't keep up, it seems. I want you to like me after the end of the game. But that's just when I'm Brazilian. Then I'll change race again. I'll become Japanese, one of those Japanese men, and I'll get angry at someone, and then I'll say like this. And then I'll get to be a Japanese woman, and then I'll talk like this. I guarantee you, girl, that Japanese guy's not tearing you up as much as you look torn up on your face and your butt is lifted in the air like that, but you're not really being torn up, so stop the scared act. I'm not buying it. You're not a little baby girl, and that guy's not throwing, shocking, rocking your world. He's just doing his thing. You got a lot of expectations on you. I understand Japanese dudes and Japanese girls, they gotta be all like, what's happening to me? I'm so scared and helpless. And you're pushing your penis in me. Oh no. I've been reduced to an infant. I once was on the greatest adventure. Then I took a penis to the face. And I was like, okay, buzzkill. Whose penis is this? Turned out those same people who've been playing keyboard with my penis earlier were now playing keyboard with someone else's penis and throwing it at my face. Which is, not an ideal outcome, but not inconceivable. Well, this has been pleasant. This has been fun. This has been better than being shot by a gun. This makes me wetter than Tom Cruise's hunk that he played in Risky Business. Hey, unlikable Alec, listen to me. My skin tone doesn't change, but there's no doubt that my race changes. Okay? Listen to me. I'm going to repeat this for you to make it abundantly clear. Listen carefully and repete when I'm done, okay? Repete. Repeat after me. Hay demasiado chupacabras en este pueblo. Okay? If that doesn't prove I'm Mexican, I don't know what does. Nothing. I grew up in the mean streets of Michoacan. When I was 3, my mother transferred to get a job in Cancun at a hotel, and I worked there cleaning up trash bins and stuff, helping my mom clean the rooms. Until one day a gringo came down and abused me as I entered my teenage years, taking advantage of me. I tried to complain, but the gringo just bought off the corrupt Mexican police, and I was left with no remedy, no legal remedy. That's when I decided I was going to devote the rest of my life to hunting down that gringo and castrating him. Look, unlikable Alec, another thing you need to remember is Irish people are just the Mexicans of Europe. You're forgetting that. They're drunk, they like to fight, they're lazy. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. They love bean burritos, everything, the whole 9 yards. Los Angeles Rams have successfully put on a Super Bowl. They didn't just win the Super Bowl, they successfully put on a Super Bowl. That was a pretty tight Super Bowl, like Hollywood showcase thing. Well, Ali Shiva, I don't know if you noticed, but the key factor here may be right in his name. He seems to have a propensity for being unlikable, whether it be purposeful or just an unavoidable consequence of his thoroughly unpleasant nature. It's hard to say. But you're welcome, Karma's Pimp. Your people, yes. Your people are so misunderstood, whoever they are, but I understand them. I am transracial. I'm fluidly transracial. And what that means is right now my race is currently changing. I'm changing to Norwegian at the moment. I'm developing a compulsion to cross-country ski. And visit the fjord. That's how I know I'm turning Norwegian. It's the fjord compulsion more than anything else. Must get to the fjord. Because Norwegians, if they spend too long away from the fjord, they get sick. They get physically ill because they're addicted to fjord life. What do you mean it's not even my blood? Look, I have as much race in my blood as you do, which is 0. Do I need to read my Jones cards again? There's no such thing as race. I mean, there are races, like foot races, bicycle races, car races. Those kind of races exist. There are electoral races, but there aren't people races. Trust me. I've checked. Well, that's because Ali Shiva's not deflecting your antagonism until you decide to be pleasant. She's engaging it directly. You never said you were God? Well, it sounds like you're being a little timid in your claim making. Maybe you should declare yourself God. If not that, at least claim the title of Gauge of All Knowing. I've already claimed it, but you could be a fellow Gauge of All Knowing, I suppose. Who raises you? The culture you raised in, the language, etc. I guess it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. People are their personality types. You know, I briefly changed race into an Episcopalian until my fluid transracialism realized, hey, that's a religion. And negated the change. Yeah. I should start a business that just issues licenses to people declaring them various races. They can either have it all on one license, or they can have a fluid transracial license that empowers them to declare whatever race they are whenever they want. Well, that's a fair critique, Unlikable Alex. You make a fair critique there. And if she called you an idioto, then you have good reason to complain about the addition of an extra unnecessary O. She's wasting O's, and we have a finite number of them, and it's not okay. She did start it. Shame on you, Ali Shiva. You fight starter, you pot stirrer. Quit stirring my pot with your pot stirring stir pot. Now everybody hates you, everybody else. See what you did? Now everybody hates everybody. I was trying to make it so people liked each other, and now here we are back again, where everybody constantly hates everybody. Thanks a lot, Ali Shiva. Thanks a lot. Just when we were about to make Alec likable, you had to go shit in his mouth. Well. I'm a correctist. The best thing to be is a correctist. By being a correctist, my position is I'm just correct about everything. Whatever it is. Whatever the position is. Wherever it lands on the thing. Okay, Ali Shiva, I gotta check you there. Unlikable Alec does understand a lot about adoption because he's trans-adoptal. His status as being the child of two known parents versus adopted parents, it changes moment to moment. You know what I love a lot? 50 Cent did a pretty good job. What are you saying? Thanks for nothing, 50 Cent. It's your birthday. We're gonna party like it's your birthday. And I don't give a fuck. Because it's your birthday. I want to welcome you all to the Wild Wild West. I mean, Ali Shiva, I gotta tell you, identity is not that complex. It's it gets convoluted and difficult to manage when you don't have it parsed out on a TI level very well. So it's pretty straightforward. There's some aspects of identity that are arbitrary self-identification things, and some aspects of identity that are sort of objectively so about you. Cognitive functions represents the objective part of identity construction. Race and other things represent arbitrary or subjective parts of identity construction. And the problem is when third parties take those objective or the subjective or arbitrary parts and conflate generalities out of them, or extrapolate generalities out of them that aren't justified. Snoop and Dre killed it. Eminem killed it too. I thought 50 Cent killed it pretty well. Maybe not quite as well as the other ones, but certainly better than Mary J. Blige. She was boring. I wonder if Mary J. could oblige me and go away forever. Tell me about it, Ellie Shiva. I was born to a destitute couple in North Korea. Before day 2, I escaped the hospital, grabbed a rifle, and blasted my way through the demilitarized zone. Once in North Korea, I couldn't find any Korean couples who wanted to adopt me because they're racist, so they shipped me off to the United States, where I found my parents who adopted me. My first parents who adopted me, and they were Inuits. I had to spend my next 6 years in an igloo, eating nothing but Eskimo pies. After that, I finally got adopted by my regular parents that I think was my parents. Anyway, I think maybe that's where I came down with transracialism. I was the tallest, most pale North Korean child born in Pyongyang that year. I was immediately subject to relentless taunting and racism. You look different from us, they said. That's why I left on day 2. Sugar Hill Gang. A bumped up joogie and the joogie the beat. Yeah. Because yesterday I had a Japanese mother, so it was relevant. Right now, though, my race is Falkland Islands. I'm not sure if that qualifies as white or not. If it's an English person, then yeah, probably. But I'm usually not white. I'm usually some other race. Like Californian. Californian's a race. It's got its own dialect. If you want to talk Californian, you gotta talk like this. Because it's like, you go out, you hit those waves, it's just like, whoopah, soap-headed. That's how to talk Californian. Here's how you talk Chinese. Shui Chong Lu, Hong Chao Lu. That's how you tell the cab driver to take you to your street corner in Shanghai. Where's your vocal fry? Bro? What's my vocal fry? I don't know what that is. You are all moving here. It has changed everything for the worse. We are moving where? Arizona? Californians are not all moving to Arizona. I'm not moving to Arizona. I might move out of state eventually, but I wouldn't move to Arizona. I would move to, like Montana or Wyoming. One of those two states, probably. Something that's still pretty underpopulated. Maybe North Dakota. North Dakota sounds kind of like a cool place. It's super cold up near the north, you know. I believe Unlikable Alec identifies as an ENTP. So, of course, Unlikable Alec, if you actually are an ENTP, you might find this entertaining for a while, but ultimately you're going to be like, I don't want to respond to that guy pontificating. I want to be the one pontificating. You think that Ellie, Shiva, and Unlikable Alec read as if they're the same type? No. I don't. But I don't necessarily conclude they read as different types either. I hadn't thought about it, but now that I think about it a little bit, no, they seem a little bit different in their deliberations, maybe. California's in Texas, California's in Arizona. What are we going to do with this? California's in my vitamins. I almost did a short today. Probably should have done it, but it was hard to turn from where I was into where I wanted to go. Anyway, it showed the gasoline prices in California, and the cash price for regular unleaded was $4.99, and everything else is everything else in the gas costs were over $5. I want to go somewhere where it's not so populated, basically. Today's Valentine's Day. Will there be a special episode of the host Eric Love's Rachel Lapalosa show? Maybe. We'll do something for Valentine's Day for sure. I've done that before, but we've had impromptu typings to people who want to be typed from the chat. I did it just the other day, in fact. I talked to somebody who wanted further clarification about something. The thing is, I want to be north. So that means one of those states up against Canada, kind of. I want to be somewhere where cold winters presumably discourage homeless people. It's a good thing to do. More likely there will be a video of a precious lovely kitty. I don't know, I'm feeling creatively meh, you might say. Just not really feeling very creative. Like, I noticed that my inclinations towards creativity tend to coincide with my inclinations towards making jokes. If I'm not particularly feeling like making jokes. I'm probably not feeling very creative in general, although sometimes I might be feeling expressive. Like, how does that thing begin? Let me pull it up. I kind of feel like singing it, and it'll remind me once I get to the beginning of it. I'll just sing along with it even, who knows. This is a really sad song. It was in my head today for some reason. I'm not sure why it got in my head. Maybe a bit of the melody would sound like a bit of a melody of something else, and maybe that's what got me there, but... Piao. Lament. Sad song. Here it is. Let's get the beginning of it then.
I spend all my hours at coding, ignoring the sense of foreboding, and also this moist dirty coating that's settled all over my skin. It feels like death is upon us, just like it was a pawn shop, and I had sold all of my shit there. I spend all my hours at coding,
I spend all my hours at coding, ignoring this sense of foreboding, and also this moist dirty coating that's covered all over my skin. I once had a life and a family, or at least a place in this place, when I had sold all of my stuff there and spent all the money long since. I worried then as I worry now. I worried when I would worry how. I thought about things that were not beyond me. Thought about wondering too. I don't remember all the words. I'm gonna play it on the thing. It's probably better to do that.
I spend all my hours at coding, ignoring this sense of foreboding, and also this moist dirty coating that's settled all over my skin. It feels like death is upon us, just like it was a pawn shop, and I had sold all of my shit there and spent all the money long since. I once had a life and a mansion, or at least a house in this place, where I lived with daughter and family, and I put those things in my face. I worried then and I worry now. I worried when I would worry how. I felt about things that were not beyond me, and felt about wondering too. I thought if I could I would come back. I'd come back before I had left. I wouldn't have left in the first place. I didn't, I haven't, I won't. And I'll be here for forever for sure. I'll be here with you, darling. I'll stay here until you're older than me. You're older than all of the times it would be if I had never left you to begin with, darling. I never did, I never would, I never will. You were born in October, or near enough to that at least, 'cause it was the end of September, and it was the end of the feast. The feast so debauched and so pointless, the feast of my bachelorhood, which stretched on through 2 of my marriages, yeah, and saw me. I can't recall the time before your birth and your arrival. I can't recall the time before. I never knew a time could be as definitively expensive and reductive to turning me into you. I am all about you, dear, and you are all I need. As long as I have everything, I'll be everyone you see, and everything that you have known, and everything that I will know, are all contained within you, dear. It's clear enough to me for sure.
That song's written by a dead me to my daughter. It's pretty like serious song. So it's like, you know, the lyrics are all about, I had this stuff, then I died because I couldn't stop putting things in my face, basically smoking everything in the world, you know. I figured it'd probably kill me at some point, and I imagined myself dying, and that was a freestyle a cappella song made up on the fly. Yeah, so I basically articulate that I'm dead, and then I kind of recap the life before the birth of my daughter, and then I don't go into exactly when my death occurs, but I go into, so, you know, that I'll be here until you're older than me, until you're older than all of the time I could see, like that kind of stuff. And then it's at the end it's like, you know, everything that's left of me is what's in you, and in that sense I'm all around you, some sort of shit like that. I don't know. It's pretty depressing. I guess I was in a depressed mood when I wrote that. Yeah, and you know the thing is, it actually sort of sustains for the 3 minutes or whatever that it plays for, which is surprising because you don't normally really
All my hours,
expect
I
something like
spend all
this.
my hours.
You don't really expect something like this to do that, but it's it's like well written. You know, I spend all my hours at coding, ignoring this sense of foreboding, and also this moist, dirty coating that's settled all over my skin. It feels like death is upon us, just like it was a pawn shop, and I had sold all of my stuff there and spent all the money long since. I once had a life in a mansion, or at least a house in this place, where I lived with daughter and family, and I put those things in my face. I worried then as I worry now. I worried when, I would worry how. I felt about things that were not beyond me, and felt about wondering too. I thought if I could, I would come back. I'd come back before I had left. I'd never have left in the first place. I didn't, I haven't, I won't. And I'll be here for forever for sure. I'll be here with you, darling. I'll stay here until you're older than me. Older than all the times that would be if I had never left you to begin with, darling. I never did. I never would. I never will. You were born in October, or near enough to that at least, because it was the end of September, and it was the end of the feast. The feast so debauched and so pointless, the feast of my bachelorhood, which stretched on through 2 of my marriages, and saw me. I can't recall the time before your birth and your arrival. I can't recall the time before. I never knew a time could be as definitively expansive and reductive to turning me into you. I am all about you, dear, and you are all I need. As long as I have everything, I'll be everyone you see, and everything that you have known, and everything that I will know, are all contained within you, dear. It's clear enough to me, for sure. Those are some pretty heavy freestyle lyrics, you know. That was something I made up on the fly the whole time. It's the original recording of it. So I could try putting guitar underneath it. Figure out the chords for it. I was trying to figure out the chords for Wonderful, Wonderful Kitty, Having Wonderful Times, Always Cleaning Yourself, Making Sure You've Got Clean Lines. It's actually a little tricky to figure out. I think it's got some weird chords in it, maybe. But, you know, That was during a time when I was in the throes of meth addiction, but also had a child and was trying to be as good a parent as I could, and had some had some periods of ontological distress. Thanks, dumb genius. And this was back when I was doing meth. And thanks to the magic of meth, my irresponsible behavior turned into art. I did for considering I was a meth addict, I did a fantastic job of raising Delilah. By other metrics, you might say I could have done a better job, but she always knew I loved her a lot, and I always had her back. And poignant, yeah, it's a poignant little number. If I could put together like a nice production of it, it's the sort of thing you could see making the soundtrack of a movie and then sort of fading out as the characters start like voiceovering themselves driving in a car, feeling emotions. He wants peace, okay, lady? Lady fuss a lot bear. He wants the peace of 1,000 silences, of 1,000 nights in the dead of winter, where it's so cold outside not even a wolf can be heard howling. That is the silence that he wishes for. The silence of peace, the peace of silence. I only have one kid, just Delilah. Imagine if I had a boy. I have trouble imagining what that would be like. I have to experience it. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of boys in my capacity as a teacher and a coach. So I get how interacting with boys is different than interacting with girls. Boys are kind of easier in some ways and kind of harder in some ways. Yeah, I only have one kid. That's all the kids I need. I got lucky. She did get a lot of love in being my daughter. I got really lucky. I got this smart, interesting, attractive, action type daughter. She and I are both bipolar, so we get along really well together. And we love each other a lot. Makes me emotional. I don't really see her all that often because we're bipolar, so we love each other a lot. When she comes up, I have this conversation every time. Well, I don't really see her a lot. I really should call her. And yeah, it's not going to happen until who knows when. It's got kind of like old Irish or English lament kind of quality to it. No, I don't want to kill her boyfriends. Delilah typically wears the pants in those relationships. She gets with introverts. She's the extrovert. She tends to be driving the bus. If you like bus driving, then you'll love being Delilah. She has similar habits to me also. She really doesn't like to ride in other people's cars. So if we're traveling together someplace, we'll each take our own car. Because we both want to drive. We're both action types, so it makes sense. What color are those leaves? Those are green's leaves. Don't you mean green leaves? No, I mean green's leaves. Why do you call them greens leaves if they are clearly green leaves? Because there are multiple shades of green, many greens in these leaves. Oh, now I see greens leaves everywhere I go. And I wonder, did you put in my head some magical spell to make me recognize the multiple greens in every leaf I see? And that's why I am singing green leaves to you and me. Green leaves. Is that the green leaves you're talking about? Let the sky rain potatoes to the musing voice. Let it thunder to the tune of greens leaves. I mean, Delilah's an ESTP. She has her own strong opinions about things. If you happen to watch the video with Grace the other day, STPs have a clarity about what they want in that area that you gotta just go, alright, well, you certainly sound like you know what you want. It's a tricky thing, if you're a parent especially, to determine exactly where your, yes, I know it's not that Greens Leaves. I just made that Greens Leaves up. So I've seen that song. It goes, are you going to Greensleevy Fair? Greensleeves, parsley, rosemary, thyme. But Kitty, though, this hat is too big for you. You should recognize that reality and accept it. Oops, sorry, darling. Now I'm never going to get the hat picture because I fucked it up. Now you're never going to trust me with the hat again, huh? You're going to be like, I don't like this hat business of yours, Eric. Can you stop with the hat nonsense? I'm trying to get you some shade. There. There. That's a precious kitty. You see, if I can get Kitty looking like he's wearing this hat, well, then I can make a good short out of that. You see? Make a short called, if you got a fancy kitty, then your kitty wears a hat. If you got a fancy kitty, look at that. I have a fancy kitty, my kitty wears a hat. Come on, everybody, love my kitty. Thanks, Taylor Van Amboa. I would not call that a sea shanty. I'd call that like a Irish-British style lament. Perhaps a dirge. Hey, will you get your dirge out of my lament, please? It's really annoying. I like to keep my dirges and laments completely separate from one another. Stop dirging my lament is one of my most commonly spoken sentences. You can lament my dirge if you want, but Lie down, kitty. Lie down underneath the hat in picturesque fashion. Show us your kitty ways. Oh yeah. Lie down. Underneath with your head right underneath the hat. Be a cooperative kitty, meow. Right there, yeah. Get that hat. Love that hat. Live that hat. It's your hat now. Let me find a different hat for you, okay? Let's see what other hats we might be able to successfully put on the cat without her objecting too much. Well, we could try the sexy hat. She definitely deserves the sexy hat. You let her settle in a little bit here. Okay. I will do an Attenborough commentary. When European explorers first discovered the Kitty Meow Islands, and these tribes of sentient, furniture-building, throne-occupying cats, everyone was constantly amazed. How could these simple cats have developed such a complex civilization out of mere pebbles and twigs? As soon as this cat is done cleaning herself, we will interview her about this very topic. She's somewhat persnickety. There are many tribal requirements to the rituals here. One never interrupts the queen while cleaning, as that will incur her wrath, which can include a quite stout meow. While we're waiting for the cat to finish cleaning herself, let's turn now to Dr. Judy Wu from University of California, Berkeley. Dr. Wu, what are we looking at here? Basically, this is a house cat, and as you can see, it is part of a civilization of cats that has furniture, pillows, all the amenities. They've independently manufactured these on this island, while still, as far as we can tell, having no language beyond variants of the word meow. I see. Now, can you please explain this in evolutionary terms? Basically, we have a founder's effect where we had an isolated population of mutated cats who had mutated in a fashion that had allowed the creation of manufacturing processes without any increase in communication abilities, which is what we find most remarkable. Most remarkable indeed. And what can explain this? Well, what we suspect is that some of the cats had this mutation, and it spread throughout the population, possibly through epigenetics or through magical fairy dust or something. Fascinating. Now let's turn our attention back to the cat here. Excuse me, Your Majesty, Capio. Are you ready for your interview? Almost ready. Here we go. I do have a cat translator, so you will be able to hear exactly what she means. Now, these scratches, Dr. Wu, if I still have you all on the satellite phone, can you tell me, what do they represent? Well, in this kitty culture, they generally represent the presence of fleas, And then you just scratch those fleas. Although it can be sometimes used as a gesture to mock other cats. When one cat believes the other cat has fleas, they might mockingly scratch themselves, but distinguishing between different levels of distinction in mock scratchings and real scratchings takes a real expert in the culture. They're very subtle distinctions. I see. Now, how has it come to be that this cat culture has developed such a high level of ceremony with hierarchy and thrones and knights and ladies and castles and why did they go with the medieval theme, do you suppose? Well, what we suspect is that the full extent of their manufacturing skills was still at that level of technological development. They moved rapidly, very rapidly, from the Stone Age straight into feudal Europe times, and developing swords, developing full plate kitty armor. They learned to ride dogs as horses, and anyhow, they institutionalized their incredible selfishness into their culture. As you can see, this person has no regard at all for the fact that the interviewer is waiting to interview her. She just continues to lick herself away and look beautiful in the process. Kitty, can we get down to the business, please, of interviewing? Can you stop with the cleaning now? You're clean enough. You're so clean. It's like, how much cleaner could you be? No cleaner. Kitty, I'm trying to take a video of you with the hat on. And you're being wholly uncooperative, as usual. It's like having you have an F.E. Polar prima donna. Boy, let me tell you who must have been F.E. Polar today. Rich and I went into the line at the pharmacy. Why did we go into the line at the pharmacy? Well, we needed to pick up Rachel's meds. And guess what? The people in front of us were getting a family COVID test, a so-called family COVID test, okay? And so the guy had like 4 kids in his car. He got the test packets, and then instead of going forward and administering the test to his kids in the parking lot and coming back and getting back in line to put it away, he sat there after he got the packets and administered them all to his kids and then put it in the box. Well, he made us wait for him to do that. Oh, did that make me mad. I shook my fist, I honked the horn. I said, asshole. Yeah, she's entitled, bobidled, you might say. But let me see if I can find something else to put with her that will work well. Something perhaps like what? Oh, wonderful kitty. You finally stopped with that nonsense, didn't you? Yes, you did. Go to sleep now so I can put this hat on you. There's only one person in this house, Kitty, who truly deserves to wear this hat. And that person is you. Sorry, darling. Thanks for putting up with that. I appreciate it. That seems like a good short. There's only one person in this house, Kitty, who truly deserves to wear this hat. And that person is you. That's a good video. I think you guys are going to agree when you see it as a short upload. You're going to be like, wow, Eric, that was a good video. There's only one person in this house, Kitty, who truly deserves to wear this hat. And that person is you. There's only one person in this house, Kitty, who truly deserves to wear this hat. And that person is you. There's only one person. Perfect. This short's going to do well, I think. Although I'm a little bit confused about the shorts thing. You know, it's not that clear cut as to how it all works. There's only one person in this house. Kitty deserves a hat. That's what I titled it. Hi, I'm Bob. I'm here to do your mortaring needs. Anybody need any mortaring done? I've got a mortar and I'm kneeling. I'm good at kneeling. I can shoot mortars at people. Okay, well thanks, Bob. I don't know if we're really going to find any employers for mortar users right now. Okay, well, how about me? I can use this bazooka. It shoots big old bazooka bullets at people. I have this nice stance. You can see my good shooting position, right? I'm ready to make a difference. I got one knee down so I don't get knocked over backwards by the recoil of my massive bazooka. Or, if you want, you can hire me. I'm crawling guy. I'm not flying, no. I'm crawling on the ground. Why? Well, unfortunately, and I know this is a bit of a disadvantage when I'm interviewing for these kind of jobs, I am only equipped with a regular gun. I don't have a mortar and I don't have a bazooka, but what I have is the ability to crawl. Chook, 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 chook. That confuses the enemy. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, girl, she'll chew you up. Oh, here she comes. She's a man-eater. Gold Star lesbians. I got that totally backwards. I figured Gold Star lesbians are lesbians who don't neglect their duty to sex and dick. Instead, it's the other way around. That's totally backwards. That's what I call backward lesbianism. Somebody should correct that. I wonder how my kitty in a hat video is gonna do. Oh, beautiful friend. Daddy loves you with his emotion heart. Yes, he does. What a wonderful kitty. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna go. Maybe I'll play one regular song before I go that I normally play, or maybe a different one that I don't normally play then. So I don't really want to open up any documents, you know. I've been Camelot for Jack and Jacqueline on the Che Guevara highway, filling up with gasoline. Fidel Castro's brother spied a rich lady who's crying over luxuries, disappointments. So he walks over and he's trying to sympathize with her, but he thinks that he should warn her that the third world is just around the corner. In the Soviet Union, and the only sound I hear is the sound of someone stacking chairs and mopping up spilled beer, and someone asking questions and basking in the light of the 15 painful minutes with the fanzine writer. In the Soviet Union, a scientist is blinded by the resumption of nuclear testing, and he is reminded that Dr. Robert Oppenheimer's optimism fell the first hurdle. One step forward, two steps back. Well, politics get me the rack, waiting for the great leap forward. So gather your rosebuds while you may just get the day away, waiting for the great leap forwards. It's a Billy Bragg communist song. There are more to life than phallic things, things that are lingual, things that are Ming, things that are bases from a Chinese place that makes you feel a whole lot of grace. It's special time, oh yeah. This is a special song just for you who are here. Only you can appreciate just how dear this moment is. We're together, it's a Monday morning, very early in the morning, and we should be snoring instead. But like I said in some other song, life can be kind to those who stay up all night long, and that's just fine. And things are better when you're hanging out with a few of like-minded souls. Perhaps we ought to have gone to bed. We elected to stay up instead. Perhaps we ought to have a sheet and blanket sandwich. Oh, it's sleeping time, but hanging out here is just fine for those who do not mind my rambling, pointless, intended attempts at what? Making some sort of song, but you didn't write it. You don't fight it, just let it become what it is. But can you do that well enough to just render it into exactly what it's supposed to be, and not get confused and misled about it? See, we'll see. You know, in Mexico, they called Jonathan Basanti the big gringo who drives a high Hyundai down the highway looking for piñatas. And Jonathan Basanti began collecting piñatas back when he was just 4 years old. Considered them a good investment then, because it was something old. He thought I could get piñatas of things they don't make piñatas about anymore. Keep them in storage, and then those piñatas will gather in value. When they do, I'll sell at the peak. Oh, that's my get-rich scheme for me. I'm 4-year-old Jonathan Basanti. Invest in collectible piñatas before they become all ghosts and Conti. Rose drenched in Chianti, because they were at an Italian Mexican birthday party. So they got all drenched in Chianti. And if you want to see how it turned out, well, everybody in a bunch of suits pulled out a bunch of guns, shot up the place. Everyone run fast, but some of them weren't fast enough. They were shot in the back. It was the last thing they ever saw. The last bit of stuff was the grass coming up to their eyeballs as they fell down into it. It was a birthday tragedy. Turned Jonathan Basanti off from his piñata collecting days forever. Now he's got PSTT when he looks to see. Oh shit, oh no, that's a piñata. I better freak out now, yeah, I ought to. Don't underestimate my terror and fear, because we're talking about a piñata, my dear. That song's called Jonathan Basanti Loves Piñatas. This next song is called Boba Fett Loves Playing Tetris with Betty and Curtis. Okay, so this song's called Boba Fett loves playing Tetris with best in the West, and Boba Fett loves playing Tetris with Tess and Curtis. It is the best test he can give to himself to see the worst among them who are at the task being tested. Then makes sense. No reason to sit on the fence. Boba Fett gonna play the best against Test and of course Curtis. They're playing some kind of indie game, and Tuss and Curtis don't know the rules. It's lame, but it's okay because it gives the Boba Fett an advantage since they're playing curry ball. Indian games are very strange rules. Step 1, you gotta throw some dust in their face. Step 2, you gotta go out and have a foot race with the person who's dressed as an elephant. Step 3, if it is Wednesday or Thursday or hell, even if it's Friday afternoon, too. Special kind of rules, special kind of soup. Today it's all yogurt and off the gross scoop. Some days it's meat and tandoori chicken fine, but often they'll just give you non-flavored wine, and that's supposed to subsist you for the day. And if you don't follow it, you're breaking the rules. The way you can't win any longer. Your contest. Your contest. Your contest. That's Boba Fett in a nutshell. Wants to play a game that he knows well against some people who don't know the rules. He says tandoori chicken is part of how to properly get your lickings in the sport, but when he said it, he was lying. In reality, no dot applying is required to score points in this game. And sure, why you gotta go to the Taj Mahal? Well, that's not that lame. Why you gotta place it tall? You don't have to play it at the bar, so that's not so bad after all. Let's play India ball. First you answer the phone. I don't know why you were calling, sir. Can you explain it to me again alone? I told you I'm having a tech problem. Is there anybody with less of an accent I can talk to? You're hard to understand. Of course, in reality, every Indian that you hear and see could talk perfectly normally if they wanted to. When they do that exaggerated voice like, they're just fucking with me and you, having a good laugh at our expense. Customer called in again, thought I was super Indian. I did my super Indian style voice and they had trouble understanding me, of course. Then they had to ask for somebody else. I gave him Rahib, he said his name was Steve, and they couldn't understand him either. Complaining every day till the end of beaver time, that is true. You know, that's the truth. That's the secret. All those people in India, they can talk perfectly normal English. They just choose to put on that accent to fuck with us. Hello, my name is Steve. Is your name really Steve? Are you really Steve? Or are you King Krishna Sarmapagu or something crazy like that? Probably the latter, you know.
Hello, my name is Steve. What seems to be the problem today?
Well, the problem is my computer's not working.
I see. Well, what doesn't seem to be working about it?
Well, I tried to install this thing and then...
Okay, that sounds like a tech support problem. This is This is a different kind of tech support. This is hardware support.
Hardware support? Well, it might be a hardware problem.
Okay, the problem you're describing to me sounds like a software problem. Let me transfer you to software. Hold, please.
Okay, I'll hold. Hi, welcome to Sprint. We want to thank you so much for talking to our representatives like Bob and Steve and Jamie and Joseph.
Hello, thank you for waiting. My name is Jordan.
Your name's Jordan.
Yes, my name is Jordan. Jordan Cornelius.
Jordan Cornelius. Well, I gotta say, Indian guy, you went creative with your name. I appreciate that. Jordan Cornelius, huh?
Yes. What seems to be the problem?
Well, I installed this thing and it seems like the drivers are conflicting and I can't figure it out. It's annoying the shit out of me.
I see. And what kind of drivers did you install?
Just, I updated the audio drivers.
Have you tried turning the computer off and on again?
Yes, I've tried that. Obviously, I'm not an idiot. Didn't work.
Have you tried rolling back the update?
Okay, well, there's the problem. I didn't technically set a restore point before I did the update. Should I have? Yes, but I didn't. And when I go to try to uninstall this particular one, it says it's necessary for the operating system, and it doesn't give me the option to unupdate it.
Okay, this sounds like a hardware problem. Let me send you the hardware.
No, I was just at a... Thanks for choosing us. Okay. That's my experience on the phone with things like that. They don't listen. People don't listen to me. They don't want to hear my words. They don't want to explain things to me.
Have you tried manually uninstalling the update?
I can't uninstall the update without uninstalling the whole driver. It's not like the driver's there and it's a patch or something. It's a replacement driver.
Okay, calm down, sir.
I am calm.
Okay, we're going to try to solve your problem.
Okay, well, fine. So the point is, I can't pull the driver out, and I can't update it, because it's already been updated, and I can't unupdate it by any mechanism I can see without restore pointing back like 3 months, which you don't really want to do.
Well, you may not have any other choice, sir.
Okay. You're not any help. Never mind. Fuck it. Goodbye. Thank you. I'm gonna go Google, like, previous versions of how to... previous versions of that driver, where to get it downloaded, and how to install it over the updated one, and then I won't have that problem anymore, you know? I end up having to solve it myself. Unpleasant Alec and Unlikable Alec and Elishiva are in tense negotiations for a ceasefire and a truce. Please give me the filthiest napkin you can find. I thrive on filthy napkins. Like a dung beetle thrives on the poop of another creature. I'm the dung beetle of the napkin community. You know, maybe you should put parentheses around that unlikable, Alec. Because you're only sometimes unlikable. Sometimes you're likable. Sometimes you're downright lovable. Sometimes I feel a deep pool of moist, wet love in my heart. And that's right. I'm feeling it for you. And why? Because you're cool like that. Because you can tell a bazooka from an elephant gun from Bazooka Joe. Pretty important. Pretty good game, though, you know, pretty close game. Could have gone either way. Rams pulled it out. I'm glad it wasn't a blowout. I hate it when it's blood. That's not fun. My dad noted that the length of the national anthem was well over the over-under, as both he and I predicted. We should have bet the over on it. You could bet the over-under on the national anthem, and then it was at like 136, and it actually went to 150 something. I could have told you, in LA they're going to go over the average for sure. I think I don't want to get somebody who's really hamming it up. This is their moment to shine. They want to like be famous, stuff like that. Oh, merciful heavens. If you've never heard about merciful heavens before, they're preferable to the merciless heavens that provide the alternative. Well, those yawns tell me it's getting on time for bread. It's 2:20 in the morning. I've barely even gotten started with my morning's work. I mean, and I've been up for a long time. I should have started with the morning's work at least. I did take the trash out, put the trash bags. That's pretty pimping of me. Winston's mom, my grandfather, and some family members actually came over for his 90th birthday today. And did you give him 90-year-old appropriate presents, such as a Gatling gun? You should always give your Nueve-Gentarians a Gatling gun for Christmas or whatever. Or a crack pipe with some crack. Probably your 90-year-old relative has never had the opportunity to smoke crack before. Wouldn't that be nice? You could give them an opportunity to try it out. At 90, you'd probably be like, what the fuck? Why not, you know? Might as well. Maybe that's just me. It's probably just me. I'm quite confident that at 90, when somebody goes, hey, here's this new weird designer drug, I'll be like, I'm the old timer you're looking for there, mister. Bring it on by. Let me consume it, and I'll give you my honest critique afterwards. Remember, spirits come in multiple forms. The alcoholic kind, the ghostly kind, the
sense of oneness with the universe kind. And most important, the Sasquatch kind. If you want to touch my Sasquatch, you got to get with my friends. Because Sasquatches are temporary, but friendship never ends. Okay, what's your complaint? He was fondling my Sasquatch. Can you demonstrate the fondle for me? No, because then I'd be fondling my Sasquatch. I can point to where he fondled him. On his shoulder? Yeah, and what was the fondling motion like? It was kind of like... So like he patted him? Yeah, he patted my Sasquatch. Is it really your Sasquatch? Sasquatch, do you have anything to chime in on this? I never even met that guy before. This guy who tapped me on the shoulder, he said wanted to know what time it was. I don't know who this guy is. It's his Sasquatch. I'm about to be his punch in the face. No, don't punch me in the face, Sasquatch. My face will be all squashed. I have to go live in Saskatchewan. Anybody who gets their face squashed by a Sasquatch has to move to Saskatchewan. New law under the Eric's Imperial Order of Imperial Decrees. Arbitrary new law. Yeah. Point to me on the doll where the Sasquatch touched you. Well, but he didn't touch me on the doll. Okay, but what I'm trying to get at is pretend the doll's body is your body. Now, where on the doll's body did he touch you? But that doll's body's so much smaller than my body. How can I show you where? It's like, hold up this doll to me. If it happened like here on me, that's not even on the doll. No, you're not getting the concept. What you want to do is scale up the doll as though it were a full-size person. Pretend the doll is the same size as you. And then point, instead of pointing to you on your body, where the Sasquatch touched you, point on the doll's body where the Sasquatch touched me. So you want me to pretend to be the Sasquatch and the doll to be me. Well, that's one way of looking at it, sure. Okay. So it went like this. Hey, Eric. Oh, hey, Sasquatch. What are you looking at me like that for? No particular reason, said the Sasquatch. What are you reaching your hand out towards me for? Don't you worry. It's the better to gesture at you with. I see. Well, where is it heading there? South of the Mason-Dixon line. Oh, I'm just gonna check inside your pants for something. Okay, inside my pockets? No. Inside your pants. And I said, Sasquatch, are you trying to touch my junk? And he says, trying to, and that's when I realized he had it in his hairy paw at that very moment. And then he looked me straight in the eyes and says, don't ever forget, I got you by the balls. And then he squeezed my junk, not super hard, but hard enough for me to go like, ouch. He pulled his hands out of his pocket, and he smelled his hand, and he walked away. and sharp for his age. Is he old or young? Should I be insulted at that notion or flattered? These are the questions that keep us all up at night. But when in doubt, I try to remember and apply one critical lesson that I learned, and it's never served me poorly since. And what taught me this lesson? There was somebody here, a community member here, on Talking with Famous People, who taught me to remember some important things about myself, and that will celebrate the me that I want to be, if me were being the be most me. Naturally, I will achieve this through a succession of ever more comprehensive, restrictive, and oppressive goals. Because that's how it rolls.
I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I'm rich. I'm the best. I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. I'm the best.
So when you're feeling blue, just remember that, okay? And that'll help you feel good about yourself again. Just remind yourself, I'm rich, I'm the best, I'm the greatest. I want your future husband to yuck you in a field of wildflowers. That sounds like a serious invitation to some allergies and some dirt on your butt. Is that really what you want? You want dirt on your butt? Alright, well, you ladies, you like to be ravaged by the masculine energy of passion for your lust-inducing bodies. That's the secret, right? Chicks get turned on by you being turned on by them. The more you eagerly want them, that tends to turn them on more. That's the secret. If you're indifferent, she's indifferent. You gotta have a certain urgency about you. Like, I need to hump. Okay, gosh. Alright, I'm calling it a night. I'm trashed. Just trashed from life, not from anything in particular. Trashed from life. The garbage men came and picked me up and put me in the back of their trash truck. Said, Eric, it's time for you to go to bed. Said, who, me? Now? Sleep? What? Where? Bedtime? Are you sure? They insisted they were sure. So good night, friends. I love you, and I bid you a fond farewell. Okay, end stream already.